The grim reality of a mass shooting is a phenomenon that unfortunately has become all too commonplace in the American way of life. And while we know what it can look like to see one of these events play out in real time, what does it look like when one of these plans is cut short before a perpetrator actually has the chance to strike? Today we will be going over 3 stories of foiled shooting plots that could have forever been devastating. Number 1. John Hagins. 2 students at Daytona Beach University may have very well thwarted a mass shooting by reporting disturbing messages that were shared in a Snapchat group chat to their campus security guard. On the early morning of December 9, 2021, Daytona Beach police officers were called in relation to a suspicious incident relating to a male suspect who attended Embry-Riddle University. A responding detective met with a campus security guard of the university. The campus security guard advised the detective that 2 students had earlier approached him to warn them of their friend John Hagins, who was making statements on Snapchat in relation to, quote, shooting up the university. Subsequent to speaking with the security guards, the Daytona Beach officers reached out to one of the students who initially spoke up. That student advised that John Hagins was his roommate at one point and that initially nothing was abnormal about John. The student then explained that there came a point where John was accused of sexually assaulting a female partygoer in 2020, and during that investigation into the alleged assault, he noticed that John's grades were slipping to the point of failure. But here's where things take a turn for the worst. John Hagins' ex-roommate then began to tell police officers that on a recent drive to Orlando, John was excessively talking about purchasing a firearm for the purposes of shooting up the university, and those concerns were only exacerbated when they gained knowledge of John selling his truck to get the funds to purchase guns. Hagins' ex-roommate concluded his statement to officers by telling them that just one night prior, he physically witnessed John with a black Kel-Tec gun, advising it was a sub 200 and that he had just purchased it off Facebook Marketplace along with 800 rounds of ammunition. Allegedly, Hagins had told his ex-roommate that, I quote, finished my back-to-school shopping. The ex-roommate left the officer with the notion that Hagins had loaded this gun into his backpack in preparation for later in the morning. Police officers believed that since it was the final day of classes, that Hagins was sure to strike the morning of the 9th. At approximately 9:45 a.m. on December the 9th, Hagins was observed leaving his apartment carrying a brown backpack with 2 magazines in the outside web pockets. Upon contact with Hagins, the backpack was unzipped at the top and you could see the firearm actually sticking out of the top of the backpack. Hagins was detained and the firearm was recovered and secured for safety by one of the officers. And it's safe to say that a potential tragedy was avoided. John is currently in jail with no bond awaiting trial. He is charged with terrorism, written threat to kill, and attempted first-degree murder. Number 2. Nicole and Cevario. In our next thwarted plot, we discuss Nicole Cevario, a troubled teen with a good father who spoke up and prevented what could have been a massacre. On March 23, 2017, deputies with the Frederick County Sheriff's Office were alerted by staff members at Catoctin High School in Thurmont, Maryland, of a journal written by a student who was identified as Nicole Ann Cevario. This journal was discovered by Nicole's father. Mr. Cevario brought the journal to Catoctin High School and would eventually meet with deputies. Mr. Cevario expressed his concerns after reading his daughter's journal. He was concerned that his daughter might actually attempt to commit a Columbine-type shooting at Catoctin High. During a review of the journal, deputies noted disturbing entries of planning for an act of violence. Deputies noted references to Columbine High School, and officers also found within the journal a receipt from Dick's Sporting Goods showing that Nicole purchased a shotgun. Due to the concern over the journal, staff members at Catoctin High School conducted an administrative search of Nicole's backpack and discovered a roll of magnesium tape and a book entitled Newtown, an American tragedy. Then detectives with the Frederick County Sheriff's Office arrived at Catoctin High School and interviewed Nicole in a conference room that was located inside the school. During the interview with Nicole, she described for detectives her intentions to kill herself on April 5th, 2017 with the shotgun that she had recently purchased at Dick's. During questioning about some of the entries from her journal, detectives learned that Nicole had made preparation to carry out an act of violence against her school. Nicole described to detectives how she had purchased items to assemble pipe bombs to include, amongst other things, pipes, end caps, shrapnel, magnesium tape, and fireworks. Nicole advised that she intended to take the fireworks and use the contents within them to place into the pipe bombs. Nicole described how she purchased lighter fluid and planned to utilize the lighter fluid as a diversion tactic when she was placing the pipe bombs throughout the school. Nicole advised detectives that her act of violence against the school system was a Plan B, and that her main plan was to kill herself with the shotgun that she had purchased at Dick's. During the interview, Nicole had also told officers that she had been storing bomb-making items inside her bedroom closets. While continuing the interview, Nicole also advised that she had conducted an interview with the school's resource officer for Catoctin High under the ruse as a school project. Nicole described how she was using this interview with the officer for the school to gather information in preparation for the attack. During the search of Nicole's bedroom closet, detectives located a black backpack hidden inside a plastic container. Inside the black bag, detectives located 3 pipe bombs with end caps attached to both ends. Amongst other things, they located 2 boxes of shotgun shells, multiple bottles of fluid, matches, miscellaneous screws, and bolts, along with several other end caps. While continuing to search through Nicole's closet, detectives also located a Remington shotgun that was hidden inside of a dollhouse. They also ended up finding a large amount of fireworks that were located inside of a hamper. The following day, police took the opportunity to review Nicole's journal. The journal contained the following quotes: "I want to be the first real female shooter. By definition, a school shooter has to be attending the school they target at the time of the attack, and I haven't found a single woman who has fulfilled that criteria. Guess it's meant to be me. Yes, I know it's meant to be me. This is what I'm supposed to do. Maybe not with my life, but with my death. I have so much to do, yet so little time. I still have to figure out how to carry in the pipe bombs, make a prototype, make the rest, shoot, saw off the barrel of the gun. I realized I was going to die in my school today. Well, obviously, I always knew, but it just really hit me this afternoon. I realized I was going to die surrounded by people I hate in a building I hate." Nicole was charged with 2 felony counts of possessing explosive or incendiary material with intent to create a destructive device. Nicole Cevario pleaded guilty and was given 20 years in prison, but it was ultimately reduced to 8 years in prison in April of 2021. Number 3, Joshua Alexander O'Connor. In our final story of a 6 shooting plot that was fortunately intruded upon, we turn to Joshua O'Connor. On February 13th, the Everett Police Department in Washington State were called about threats made to conduct an attack with guns and explosive devices on ACES Alternative High School in Washington State. The caller was the grandmother of Joshua O'Connor, who told deputies that the previous night she had read through several entries in Joshua's personal journal while Joshua was away at a friend's residence. Miss O'Connor stated that she had made copies of some of the entries and placed the journal back where she had found it, in Joshua's room. Then, when Joshua came home from his friend's residence on the night of February 12th, she had noticed him carrying a guitar case in an awkward fashion, and she assumed that something much heavier than a guitar must have been inside the case. Miss O'Connor then described her opening of the guitar case the following morning when Joshua was at school. To her surprise, Miss O'Connor found an AR-style rifle inside the case. It was at this point she finally decided it was time to call police. When an officer arrived at the O'Connor household, the grandmother handed over 17 pages of excerpts she copied from Joshua's journal. She also at this time said she had found hand grenades alongside the rifle that was located inside of the guitar case. Joshua wrote the following quotes in his journal. "I'm preparing myself for the school shooting. I can't wait. My aim has gotten much more accurate. I can't wait to walk into that class and blow all those away." Joshua continues by writing, "I've been thinking a lot. I need to make this shooting/bombing at Kamiak infamous. I need to get the biggest fatality number I possibly can. I need to make this count. I've been reviewing many mass shootings/bombings and attempted bombings. I'm learning from past shooters/bombers' mistakes, so I don't make the same ones." Joshua's journal also contained a coin flip that he had decided to conduct, whether his target would be Kamiak High School in Mukilteo, Washington, or Aces High School in Everett. Then Joshua writes about how Aces won the coin flip and that Aces would be the target for his attack. Upon the officer getting these journal entries and subsequently discovering 2 military-style hand grenades in Joshua's room, Aces High School was alerted of the threat and Joshua was pulled immediately from his classroom. Police then arrived at the school sometime later and arrested Joshua on charges of attempted first-degree murder for plotting to attack the school. Joshua would later plead guilty to this charge and receive a sentence of 22.5 years in prison. And that wraps things up for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that it shines a light onto stories like these that are not as frequently discussed in our mainstream. And we will catch you the next time.